Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today I found something very interesting that I have not seen before. So if you don't know, there is a company called Starlink, and Starlink provides internet via satellite. As of right now, they have a pretty competitive residential model that can also now be attached to an RV. And more recently, cruise ships have installed these satellite connection hubs to their boats, and now they have internet out in the middle of nowhere, quite literally. You see, as long as the Starlink satellite that is affixed to whatever you have has a clear view of the sky, you will be able to get internet. And when you get your Starlink box and the satellite that it comes with, those are the two instructions that you need. You need to plug it in, and you need to point it at the sky. That is it. Now, the router that they are using is still Wi-Fi 5, so that's the 802.11 AC standard, but that is the one router that would be compatible with the most amount of things. If you go too new of a router nowadays, you can find yourself in a weird position where some of your devices stop working, so you can't turn on the Wi-Fi 6E band, or you can't turn on the Wi-Fi 7 band because your router has to completely reconfigure itself to be able to work with just that specific band, and only your newest devices or things that are plugged into it will actually work. And that's the just standard actuated, even the high performance mounts and everything. Like the antenna is different, but the router still stays the same. If you look at their completely standard package though, their completely standard package does come with a newer router. But like most of my conversations, that's actually not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about something they announced today. At least as far as I can tell, they announced it today. But some wild engineers have been working on something special. They've been cooking up in the middle of nowhere. The test community that they have right now in Unalaska, Alaska, gives a 10 gigabit symmetric uplink and downlink to a whole community. And these community gateways are able to connect to the Starlink satellites to deliver actual fiber speeds to local communities. They distribute the connectivity to homes, businesses, and governments using last mile fiber, fixed wireless, and mobile wireless. The community gateway traffic transits through Starlink's global laser mesh network system and utilizes their high bandwidth gateways operating in a dedicated Ka spectrum band, which is their own band that they've been using to transmit data back and forth between the satellites up in the air. Or well, not in the atmosphere, they're low Earth orbit, just above the atmosphere, you know, because they would burn up. So with this new service, users can expect to see download and upload speeds of 10 gigabit per second, which is ridiculously fast. This means even if they break it out to a community of 25 people, you're still looking at an overall throughput for that whole community, 10 gigabits per second. Some of these communities that will show up around these systems have never really had access to internet, let alone high-speed internet before. They may have seen a computer at their at the library that's maybe 200 miles away that they've been to twice since they've lived there. The website for it also claims that the latency is still less than 100 milliseconds for this, which it being a essentially commercial grade network internet service provider. That's not great, but it's getting there. The ideal goal would be something theoretically in the 10 to 20 millisecond range. Right now, some engineers are saying that where they're at with the technology that they have right now, they can achieve 30 milliseconds. Of course, infrastructure like that does cost money. So the plan for that is the one-time upfront cost of this installation is $1.25 million with a $75,000 per month per gigabit per second. That's the flat rate. So let's say you are out in the middle of nowhere and you are a big research firm. You then either use a hotspot that won't work because you're out in the middle of nowhere. You buy expensive satellite phones to check in every day. Still no access to the data or research. Or you spend the money to put out a permanent installation. Because if you're going to be there for 10 years doing a project, you're going to want something that will stay up. Keep all of that data secure, backed up to a server off-site. All in all, it's expensive, but I think it's going to be a game changer in the world of satellite internet. I mean, we've already seen what SpaceX and Starlink are doing with partnering with a bunch of different companies, like Optus in Australia, Rogers in Canada, T-Mobile in the US. All of these companies have signed on to be partners and bring a satellite constellation, a mesh network that is truly global to its customers. Now, for example, Apple is using Globalstar. They're a satellite connectivity company, and they're using their satellites for the SOS communication feature on the new iPhones. And Globalstar has a satellite network just like Starlink in some low Earth orbit. Now, this enables people with the new iPhones to be able to get messages or send messages if they are without service. Now, the cool thing on T-Mobile's side is they're able to take an unmodified cell phone and transmit a beam to that specific band that that phone would take. That then goes up to the satellite network for Starlink, the ground network that is connected to T-Mobile or any of these other companies that are partnering with Starlink to produce these. And their network would then go to your talk, text, and data service. I find it really interesting to see all the places that Starlink is going. Because if you look at their technology, it makes sense that it would be able to be used everywhere. I've seen people install it on boats. I'm seeing that people are starting to get them installed on the private jets. Not that I would ever know anything about that. But even as far as people getting service and signal and communicating with data through Starlink on commercial planes too. And I think we're about to see an explosion of internet connected everything. We're going to see full construction sites that are going to be ran remote. We're already seeing it. But these construction sites are going to be out in the middle of nowhere with nobody there. It's just the machines that ran out there. Somebody set up a Starlink portal and then they came to life. We're going to quickly go from human operator to digital operator to AI controlling the whole thing. Because all of these companies are going to see that, oh, I can just hire an LLM or not language, we're gonna call it a large action model because it's doing actions. And unbeknownst to all of these poor construction workers, they're going to be training that action model on exactly how to steal their job. Or better yet, here's a less doomer situation. A remote emergency services vehicle, something that goes into a wildfire that they know people are trapped in because it's a campground or something like that. They go in knowing that people are still there. Nobody has to drive. Everybody gets in. They drive them out safely. Or if you've ever seen some remote fire rescue, just being able to have communication out there is a total game changer. Because imagine all of a sudden this guy who's been stuck out in the middle of nowhere gets a ping on his phone because a satellite is nearby. They then are able to relay that ping, even if he's not using his phone. The satellite was just able to ping the phone itself. They're able to use that ping to go and pinpoint this guy and find him and save him. All because they were able to bring a mobile internet service out. I mean, there's going to be a time here very soon that you're going to have even trucking is going to do the same exact thing. They're trying to get rid of people on the road so that things can move faster, move smoother. But man, that's getting rid of people. That's getting rid of jobs. And you know, some people really do take pride in what they do. I know plenty of truckers who love what they do. They love to drive and just be on the road. And if they could, they would do it 24 hours a day. The law is the thing that's restricting them. The thing is, an AI doesn't need to sleep. The vehicle will be able to drive itself from point A to point B with no stops because there's no driver that will ever get tired. And mark my words, once there is an autonomous driving semi that is proven to work, companies will buy as many as they can and they will run them non-stop. So let's imagine for a second that I am PepsiCo. All I need to do is hire somebody to plug in the trucks when they pull up and unplug them when they're completely loaded. Because once the truck knows it's unplugged and it sees that the area is clear, it'll pull out and go away. It'll make sure that they'll have some sensors or something like that to make sure that the doors are shut and everything is secure and ready to go. Or who knows, maybe they won't. And that will be the great disaster that'll happen first, is that a truck will drive down the road because somebody unplugged it and it was only half loaded. The doors are wide open and it's throwing stuff out the back all the way down the road. In this hypothetical scenario, though, you would assume that they would have cameras on everything and the car would, or the vehicle, the semi-truck would be able to detect if the product is flying out the back or if the doors are open. It would be able to see that with its cameras. Well, who knows? The most realistic thing, though, that I see for Starlink, for businesses and things like that right now, is I see Starlink being purely a backup internet if things go down. And that's all it should be for a lot of people, is if you have the money, if you're so terrified of losing data or losing internet, like that's what you should do. You should have a backup source of internet that is completely separate to the grid. And I believe the only way to do that is going to be through a satellite. But yeah, I think that's, I've gotten everything I want to talk about off my chest. I think this is going to be a great thing eventually down the road for everybody all around the world. So yeah, this is Warm Sponge signing out. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.